All right, ladies and gentlemen, we only have one reaction to do today because apparently My Hero Academia is on break as well. Sometimes it'll say that a new chapter from My Hero is coming out next week. Then you get to it and it's all like, hey, we're on break. Sorry I didn't tell you. So there's that. So we only got Jujutsu today. And given the last chapter that we had for Jujutsu, this one ought to be interesting. So let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way. Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another live reaction to the newest chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Kitty, good to see you. Hope all is well with you. Good to see you, Brandon. Good to see you, Ogata. Last we left off in the story of Jujutsu, Gojo is fully back, and he's prepared to challenge Sukuna because it's time for Gojo and Sukuna to have their big fight. So, with the help of Principal Gakuganji and Utahime, they use their respective abilities, and Utahime uses her own special curse technique to buff Gojo. And Gojo uses his own movements because the way Utahime, been a horrible week, need some laughs? I am here for you, kitty. I am here for you. So, Gojo, the way Utahime's curse technique works is that she is basically a buffer. She can basically buff an individual, causing their cursed energy output and power to be increased. And the way that it can increase even further is she uses special dance moves and incantations and everything, along with music going along with it, to buff a person up even higher. And she raises Gojo's power to an extra 120%. Gojo goes along with his curse technique, adding on to it with his own, incantations and hand movements to buff himself to 200%. Think of how a person in Bleach would use the full incantation of a Kido or a Bakudo, or basically, a Kido technique, in order for it to be buffed. They would say the whole incantation for that one Kido to be powerful. The same concept applies to the curse technique of Utahime and what Gojo has done, because the ending result is Gojo being pushed to 200% of his own power. The dude already has a power called Limitless, and he's boosted that output to 200%. Allowing him to unleash a 200% hollow purple that devastates an enormous part of the city where Sukuna is. And Sukuna wasn't ready for it, so he gets hit by it and calls Gojo a brat after Gojo says, let's make this very clear so that there isn't any misunderstanding. You're the challenger in this fight. And he just talks down to him. So let's get started with Chapter 224, Inhuman Makyo Shinjuku Showdown Part 2. And Sukuna speaks. I'm the challenger. You're letting catching me off guard go to your head. Satoru Gojo, you're just a fish on the cutting board. You may flop around a lot, but you're still a nameless fish. First, I'll strip away your scales. And then it cuts to Gojo, who takes off his upper jacket as he goes, then why are you wearing that face? You wanted me to hold back, right? Too bad for you, I've undergone special training. I can totally wail on Megumi. And yo, the boy has been training. I honestly thought that when he was in the prison realm, he was still kind of training himself and his own powers. As he prepares to fight Sukuna, they both gather up cursed energy in their hands, and they're both ready to square off against each other. You wanted me to hold back, right? Too bad for you, I've undergone special training. Oh yeah, you wanted me to hold back, right? Too bad for you, I've undergone special training. I can totally wail on Megumi. Dying once as Yuji was a mistake. I'll worry about Megumi after I kill you. And they both just go after each other. They both start clashing with one another. And then Gojo just falls flat on his back after Sukuna tries to hit him, and Sukuna looks at him. And then Gojo just glares at us like, and he just puts his fingers to his head, and he sends Sukuna flying into the wall. He just falls flat to the ground and just looks at him. Gojo is such a troll. For him to have the enormous power that he has, he is an entire troll. Psycho, good to see you. He's a troll. He just falls to the ground, puts his hands to his head, and then directs it to the wall, and Sukuna gets hit into the wall. Huh? And then Sukuna realizes that he's being pushed. He's being pushed through several walls just by Gojo. Gojo's just all like, and then just sends him through walls. This is Gojo. Your boy is not holding back. He doesn't have the blindfolds on. He's using the limitless full time right now. But he sends Sukuna through several walls, and as Sukuna gets up, he sees Gojo coming after him. Gojo almost hits him. But the thing about Gojo is that every time Gojo tries to hit Sukuna, it leaves massive cratered footprints where Gojo is trying to hit him. And Sukuna keeps, going on the defensive. And the section of the roof where they are gets split up completely. And Gojo is just floating in the air. Gojo's floating in the air while the section that he and Sukuna are fighting on gets completely destroyed. The whole bridge where they're destroyed gets cut up and sent falling. And then it stops falling as Gojo is making the bridge float. He's just making the bridge float. And then he waves his arm and sends the bridge that Sukuna is on through a building. But Sukuna jumps off and he dashes onto another. This is just a whole big fight. And Sukuna goes to another roof and he jumps up in the air and he goes, dismantle. And Gojo sees it and a portion of the building behind him gets sliced up. Because remember, one of the aspects of Sukuna's power is that him using dismantle allows him to basically break down anything that is inorganic. Cleave is for when he's slicing into things that are organic and also have cursed energy. The advantage of that type of curse technique is that it also augments its own cutting power against a user with cursed energy to go against their cursed energy level. So whatever cursed energy level they have, the attack itself will adjust itself so it can still cleave through that person regardless of their cursed energy level that they have. But dismantle is just basically him cutting things apart that are inorganic. And he cuts up a whole upper half of a building, and as Gojo's looking back, Sukuna launches at him, and Gojo manages to catch his hand before Sukuna can even touch him, and they're just in the air momentarily as that piece of the building is falling towards them. So Gojo, as Sukuna's trying to touch him, allows Sukuna to touch him, and he grabs his hand, and they both go through that same portion of the building, and they are fighting in the hallways of this cut apart roof, of this cut apart building. They're just fighting in this whole room, throwing doors at each other. And then the whole area where they are implodes from the upper half of the building, just falling down to the ground. It's just destruction everywhere. Think Man of Steel. Superman versus Zod. This is that type of fight. That's how much destruction they're causing. And they both land, and they're in the middle of this dust cloud, as Gojo just goes, I'm blaming you for the damage. Like anyone will believe that. May's broadcasting this. And it's like, this is the end of the chapter. It's just a massive fight between Gojo and Sukuna. And apparently May is broadcasting this entire thing. So the beginning of the fight between the strongest sorcerer in history versus the strongest sorcerer of today has already begun, and neither one has landed a decisive blow on the other. Though Gojo is showing off new moves where he's just throwing Sukuna around. He's just literally messing and toying with him, using different techniques where he sends Sukuna through walls, and Sukuna is basically on the defensive. And Sukuna's dismantle doesn't work on Gojo because not only does Gojo dodge it, but it's like the first attack by Sukuna that's named, and it doesn't work on Gojo. And as he's clashing with him, Gojo is just keeping up with Sukuna. Mind you, this is Sukuna who's ate all but one finger because he's still missing that one. And Gojo is still just toying with him right now. We haven't seen any curse technique blues or reds. We haven't even seen Hollow Purple has been used against Sukuna and then actually hit him. The dude had to actually use reverse curse technique in order to get his hand back because Gojo blasted it off. So this whole fight This whole chapter was just one big, massive fight. And I'm all here for it, okay? We've been looking, a lot of us Jujutsu Kaisen fans, and mind you, I don't know why it took me so long to get into Jujutsu because the story is great. I enjoy it. It's not like happy-go-lucky, friendship is magic type of nonsense or anything of that nature. It's like, okay, people can die at literally any time, and some other people are okay with it in this story. It's just that type of story, but the whole world building and the power scaling. Sukuna only has one finger left? Yes, Ogata. So, when Sukuna gained more and more control of his body, and this was after his fight with, what is her name? Not Noriko, but the sorceress, the ancient sorcerer that was inhabiting Sumiki's body. After he defeated her, Utahime brought 4 more fingers to Sukuna, which brings him to 19 right now. And Sukuna pretty much surmised, or at least he's guesstimating, that Gojo has the final finger. Because remember, the finger, because he's saying that Gojo has the final finger. At least he's guessing. It's never been confirmed if Gojo actually has the final finger of Sukuna. It's not with the elders because Gojo basically killed all of them. But Sukuna is at a level where he's operating off of 19 fingers worth of power. That's where he's at right now. He's not at absolute full strength, but he's at, I'd say, 95%. Wasn't the bad guy inside the kid? Okay, so here's the thing, Kitty. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but what recently happened in Jujutsu is that, remember earlier, Yorozu, thank you, Ogata-san. I forgot the name. I knew it was something with an O in it. But near the beginning of the series, when Yuji challenged Sukuna in order to who's going to have control of the body, Yuji challenged him, and Yuji lost. But we never found out the conditions, the terms and conditions about what that challenge was and who would win and who would do what. We never found out about those events until recently, a couple of chapters ago, where we find out that after Sukuna beat Yuji early in the series, the conditions of the binding vow that they put on each other was that if Sukuna says in chain, he gains control of Yuji's body for 1 minute. And the second condition of this binding vow is that Yuji forgets that the agreement was even made in the first place. So that means that if Sukuna wants, he could gain control of Yuji's body at literally any time. And we didn't know it until recently. So, using that binding vow, he's been biding his time in Yuji's body, the main character that we've been with. He's been biding his time in Yuji's body, allowing Yuji to get access to more and more fingers until it gets to the moment where he finally says in chain and Sukuna gains control of Yuji's body. And in the process, he learns that, it has a short chance of working, but I'm going to try it anyway. He gathers up all of his own power inside of Yuji's pinky and rips it off. And in the process of that, he grabs onto Megumi, who's still in control of his body at the time, and force feeds that finger to Megumi. The same way that Yuji gained the power of Sukuna inside of him, Sukuna pretty much made a gamble because it had an extremely low chance of working. He made a gamble, gathered all of his own power inside of that pinky, and force-fed it to Megumi, which allowed Sukuna to now inhabit Megumi. Sukuna is no longer in Yuji. He's no longer in Yuji, he's in Megumi. And because Megumi is also a strong sorcerer who has access to many techniques, such as the 10 Shadows techniques, which is all of the shadow puppet type techniques that he has, that the dogs, the frogs, the rabbits, the 10 Generals Maharaga, which is an almost unstoppable cursed spirit that no one's been able to control, Sukuna now has control of all of Megumi's techniques, because he's been eyeing Megumi since the very beginning. Now he's inhabiting Megumi's body, and going up against the Yorozu individual, who Ogata-san and I have mentioned, well, Ogata-san remembered the name, I know the individual, this Yorozu individual took control of Megumi's stepsister's body. So, Sukuna, in Megumi's body, decided to fight Yorozu, not just for the fact of, just killing her, but killing Sumiki. His stepsister would plunge Megumi further into despair, allowing Sukuna to have more and more control over Megumi's body. And the last we saw of Megumi was he was just sitting in this sea of darkness with a very shallow light on him. That's the last we've seen of Megumi. He has not appeared at all. He hasn't resurfaced. Sukuna has been working towards making it so that Megumi's body remains his. So all that's going on. Gojo has been released from the prison realm, and he's far more powerful than ever. He almost takes out Kenjaku had Sukuna not come in. But we're at a state right now where Gojo is ready to square up against Sukuna, and they're already commencing, and the destruction that they're leaving is just pretty much devastating the entire city. So that's where we're at right now. I know it was a bit long for me to explain that for you, Kitty, but yeah, Sukuna is no longer in Yuji. He's in Megumi now, taking advantage of all of Megumi's techniques, including techniques that even Megumi has never used. So it's a pretty big, yeah, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. But the big thing is Gojo is free, and he's already squaring off against one of the big bads for the end game of Jujutsu. Kenjaku's still out there trolling, doing whatever he's doing, but Gojo is working on dealing with Sukuna right now. That's what Gojo is doing. And I don't know where everyone else is, but Gojo's out here just, ready to throw hands. And we've all known Gojo to be incredibly strong, even stronger when he has his eyes uncovered. And this man has been fighting without his eyes. Ever since he got out of the prison realm, he's never put on a blindfold. He's done just like hiding his eyes, because the way the Limitless and the Six Eyes work is that it's like a super high resolution camera that also has incredible range. And it also makes it so that paired with the Limitless, and the Six Eyes and the Limitless are just like paired together so perfectly that Gojo is already overpowered at the beginning of the series. He's pretty much the strongest person in the series when we saw him. Then you got Sukuna coming up, and he started getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and he's at 19 fingers right now. But now we have Gojo, who says he's been going through training. This man probably hasn't been doing any training ever since he perfected the Limitless back when he was going against, what is his name? Toji Zenin, Toji Fushiguro. He probably hasn't trained since then, but now he's trained to the point where he doesn't need to wear a blindfold anymore, and his strength is pretty much comparable to Sukuna's. Mind you, Sukuna is at 19 fingers, and Gojo is still keeping up with him. So needless to say, Gojo is pretty much on a whole nother level right now. So is Sukuna, but it's like unstoppable force, immovable object. That's where we're up against right now. Neither one has landed a decisive blow on one another, but the destruction that they're causing shows you that no one else is capable of entering into this fight except these two most powerful individuals. So, this was a combat-heavy chapter. And I'm honestly not surprised that all we just saw was just Gojo just toying. Because in every panel you see Gojo, he's smiling. Every panel you see Gojo, he's just smiling. Every single one, he's smiling. He's like, Sukuna is all like trying to fight, is trying to go up against Gojo, but Gojo is just smiling the entire time. The dude is so lackadaisical. He's literally enjoying himself the same way he did with Toji Zenin. And during that time, he hadn't known how to perfect all of his powers at that time. But it wasn't until after Toji Zenin, tried to take him out that Gojo perfected all of his powers. This is really just fun for Gojo right now, but he's still serious about it. So, the thing about this is we are going on break. We are not getting another chapter next week. We will be getting one the week after. So we're going on break for this one, but we're getting My Hero and One Piece next week because those will come off a break. I enjoyed this chapter, seeing Gojo just go up against Sukuna and just toying with him, literally using his own abilities in the telekinetic type fashion and because Sukuna really hasn't been able to do anything, and every time he's tried to launch at Gojo, Gojo just shrugs it off. The dude is just fighting in the air. He's just floating in the air, just showing how superior he is. If he were to fight Escanor, I'd imagine that they both would be just going off about how each one is superior to the other because of their pride and because of how arrogant they really are. And due to their power, they have the right to be arrogant. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm droning on. It's just that these sort of things just pop into my head when I look at a story like this. We love Gojo. Gojo is an awesome character. And to see him fighting after not seeing him for over 2 years. For over 2 years. To see him fight after all this time, ready to throw hands, it really is a great story. And I'm enjoying myself. But let me not keep you here any longer than I already have. I just wanted to do this reaction to Jujutsu. If you guys want to see what I'm reading, go to the official site on Viz. That's the one place that you can read it. Or any other place that has manga for you guys to look up. Because, you know, copyright reasons. And because I also say support the official release as well. But I enjoyed this chapter. This was a great chapter. Can you imagine this fight getting animated? Mind you, Season 2 is going to cover the Shibuya incident and some other things, I believe, for Jujutsu this year. But can you imagine this fight specifically, Gojo versus Sukuna, getting animated? I look forward to it. Plus, we got Bleach that's happening in July. On the 8th of July is when Bleach comes back. So, yeah, expected reactions for that as well. But I've said all that I needed to say. Let me not just keep monologuing and keeping you here any longer than I already have. I liked this chapter. Seeing Gojo fight is always a welcome sight because the dude does not hold back ever. So, it's fun to watch him go all out. But who knows what new things we're going to see during this fight. Maybe a brand new technique from Gojo. All that time in the prison realm, you can't tell me he didn't try to, work out new things to do with the Limitless. I doubt it. But we'll see the week after next as we come off of break. To everyone here from Kitty, hope your day goes swell. I'm wondering, should I play Zelda? Should I play Zelda today or should I play it tomorrow? That's what I'm trying to figure out. If I play it today, you guys will know. If I don't, then we'll continue it on... We'll continue it on Monday. Yeah, we'll continue Zelda on Monday. But to everyone, all I can say at the end of the day is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel, and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then like, subscribe, share this stream with everyone you know because the more the merrier, and because those options help this channel grow. The sharing and the liking and the subscribing, it really does help, especially with the YouTube algorithm, with the whole like thing. I'm still trying to fine-tune that, but it really does help me. So thank you, everyone. And maybe even consider becoming a member because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.